Hello and welcome back to the Barrow. I am the Barrow White and we're still playing NIMBY Rails. We're in the third episode of German Rails, which is Rheinland Pfalz RE1. We're about halfway to Koblenz, and we'll just get building already. Take a look, see what we see today. We've been making steady progress along the Saar River, but soon we will get to the Moselle River. This town is called Dillingen. I don't know, but I keep reading it as Dillinger. It's a type of like a pistol or famous gangster in America. Weird how gangsters got famous. Almost romanticized, and these people were like serious gun running gangsters of the 20s and 30s, I think. Dillinger. I'll have to look that one up. It's weird that that name comes to mind because it was a long time ago. Alright, so it looks like we about have this station figured out. Let's get out of here and keep going. Now so far, and for a while, I'm just building one train route along the rails that I'm building. So this RE1 from Mannheim to Koblenz, there are lots more trains that would be running along these lines, but I'm wanting to get these main routes down before I go back and start adding the many different lines that come in. And it's not my plan or even a hope to try to get them all. I just want to get the ones that go the most and the ones that go regularly throughout each day. So for instance, there are, along this route, there are many trains that go back and forth all day long from Koblenz to Mannheim. But then at certain times of the day, there are trains that go part way. And these are all part of the regional express line still, but they only go part way, so they would stop at another city. And I think they just have that built in because of, whatever the traffic is at certain times of day. And I certainly don't plan to get that deep into it. I'm just going to pick the most popular or the most used routes and build those. So for instance, we have the RE1. Now, the Deutsche Bahn also would have something called the RB, and I don't know what the B stands for, but it's like maybe just Bahn instead of Express. So regional Bahn, and those go along these same routes, but they would stop at every town. So that's how people in these little towns get back and forth. So they're probably not quite as frequent, or if they are, maybe they are hourly, but they're slow because instead of stopping at every 5th or 6th or 7th town, they're stopping at every town. We are visiting Germany this year, and when we do, we're going to take one of those regional Bahns along the Rhine that stops at every town along the Rhine, and we're going to stop at the ones that have castles. And if you're on the Rhine River, like every town has a castle, maybe two. Sometimes there's one right in the middle of the river. I don't have the name of that one right now, but if I look that up, I will tell that in a future video. We'll probably pass it when we get on the Rhine River, because we're not going to hit that part of the Rhine River during this route. But when we go by that place, I will highly recommend it as a castle to visit. You have to take a ferry out to the river, out on the river to the island in the middle. And the castle is surprisingly much bigger than it looks. Very nice. As you can see, we're still on the Saar River because all the towns have it in their name. Doesn't seem particularly creative when it comes to naming things. That last one was Saarburg, which means Saar Fortress. Now here's an interesting name, Schoden-Ockfen. Schoden-Ockfen. That's weird. Not really, but I just have no idea. What's weird is I have no idea what it might mean, if anything. Maybe it was the name of an old fisher that lived there many years ago, and he fell off his horse and drowned in the river, and so they named the town after him in memoriam. I'm sure that's what it was. Now, right there you see Constation. Constation was supposed to be here. It was. I actually do that 2 or 3 times in this recording, and I go back and put a couple of them in, but at least 1 or 2 towns are missing, so apologies in advance to those towns that no longer have train stops. Sorry. You'll have to drive up to the next town if you want to get on a train. See, like right there, that's definitely supposed to be Trier Süd, which is south. I think. I just said definitely, and then I wasn't sure anymore. But I remember not building a whole big train station. And then I do go back and put it in later, though. This is probably the Hauptbahnhof in Trier. Yep. Though I've been in this town many times, I've never been to the train station. I'm pretty sure I drove through the train station once, and it maybe even stopped, but I wasn't getting off. That was when maybe I even took this route, because many years ago I went from Kaiserslautern, which we already got to. Yeah, we are already on. I got on the Kaiserslautern to Wiesbaden. So no, I've never been to this train station. Now, Trier, I will say, is the oldest city in Germany. When I was first in Germany in the 80s and 90s, during that period, the city celebrated its 2000th anniversary. It has some great Roman ruins of a bathwork and a giant city gate. And there's a big Catholic cathedral there and another church called the Basilica. And it has a great pedestrian shopping area that I highly recommend checking out. It's a nice city. Small, ancient, beautiful. Just testing out the route to see if the train seems to be doing the right things here. Oh, it did a little back and forth there, so something was messed up. Hopefully I catch that before. But it probably does that because it gets to the Trier Bahnhof here, and I just don't have all the lines built in yet for it to find a return route. We'll have it fixed before it's all over. Now the river here that we're crossing is the Mosel. The Mosel River. And that was where I spent a lot of my time when I lived in Germany, because here in about 7 or 8 train stops, we're going to come to the one that goes right by my wife's hometown. Though I haven't built it out, there's a big train yard right here in this big blank pink area. Something odd with the way train stations are built in NIMBY rails is, and it's a minor thing, easily worked around, but that is, if you build a straight station, then you do a couple of clicks from end to end, and that's how long your station will be. But if you're using a curved station, it kind of centers the station around the first point that you click, and that could be very confusing because it'll pivot around that point, and it'll also have a minimum size if you have the end rails like I do, on either end of the station that are automatically placed on there. So it'll pivot around that central point, and it has like a minimum size, so it's kind of complicated and a little disorienting the first few times you use it. But once you get used to it and remember that the two different types of stations are laid down a little bit differently, then it's not a problem. I'd like to see that eventually addressed by the mod, but they're doing a great job as it is, so definitely not a complaint, just a suggestion. I'm already up to Wittlich. My wife went to high school here at Wengeroor. I think it might have been more like a vocational training. Now, getting really close to where my wife is from, and there's a little train station here called Urzich. You're not going to actually be able to see the town. It's a little bit south and east of here, right at the river. But my son is coming with us, and he's going to stay in a Airbnb right there on the river. It should be beautiful. One thing I know that right where we're at right now with the rails, over to the left, that whole section that's green there is a giant solar panel field. Here's a little tunnel through the mountain. Then you're actually running along the river. And right here where the rail goes into this little green patch right here, that's actually like, it's a bridge. It looks like an aqueduct, and then it jumps into a tunnel. It goes through that ridge, across the river, and we stop at Bullay. Now Bullay is the end of our stop today, meaning this is our last station on this episode. But we're getting pretty close to Koblenz. Only about a dozen more towns along the river, and we should be there. And then we'll have this route finished. But that'll be for next episode. So with Bullay complete, that's it for this episode. I really appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Let's take a look at some stats for this episode. 132 more kilometers, 34 new stations, and we're just getting started. Thanks again. We'll see you next time on The Barrow. Bye.